Hello there, Bernie Miklasz. Welcome to the Bernie Show, presented by DraftKings. The crown is yours. Before I tell you what the topic is, I'll give you a little hint. I almost called in sick today. Yeah, I really did. I almost called in sick. I'm a kind of an old workhorse. I like to grind away and, write columns for STL Sports Central, do videos for STL Sports Central, work for KMOX, talking about Cardinals on Cardinals territory with Katie Wu, talking about Cardinals with my friend Will Leach on the Seeing Red Cardinals podcast. And I work, and I love it. But today I almost had to call in sick. Why? When my boss, who I refer to as Hardball because he's such a tough contract negotiator, when I let the Bernie crew know that I was moving kind of slow today, and Hardball inquired, he just wanted to make sure I was okay. And I said, well, to tell you the truth, I am afflicted with something that I'm going to call the Mikolas Fedde disease. And it's quite painful. So I almost could not go to the post and run my race today because I guess another way to put it is I'm sick of watching Erick Fedde and Miles Miklasz, and I know that you are too. So I guess that's the topic, right? And it is impossible for me to take the Cardinals seriously as long as John Mozeliak keeps Erick Fedde and Miles Miklasz in this starting rotation. What more do they have to see? Manager Oli Marmol has some say in this, but not as much as some fans think. He can't dump both Fedde and Miklasz out of the rotation and stick them both in the bullpen. Maybe one of them, Fedde, but not two. I believe that Marmol will skip Fedde's next start and go with rookie Michael McGreevy instead. Now, if you want to criticize Oli Marmol for having 7 games against the Cubs in the last couple of weeks and starting Fedde and Miklasz in 4 of those 7 games, but not setting up his rotation in a way where Sonny Gray makes at least one start against the Cubs, and that's what's happened. Hey, that's fair game for criticizing Oli Marmol. Legitimate criticism rather than the stupid stuff that people fling at him. Yeah, you play the Cubs 7 times, and Miklasz and Fedde, your 2 worst starting pitchers, are set up, and they do start 4 of the 7. Meanwhile, your best starter starts none of the 7 against the Cubs. At least it's one small consolation in terms of Fedde probably going to get yanked from the rotation, and Marmol going to plug in Michael McGreevy instead for in place of when Fedde would make his next start. So it's one small consolation, but it's hardly enough. And Marmol doesn't control the roster. It's always important to remember. Mozeliak's got 100% authority over that, and Marmol is stuck with a flawed roster that has been handed to him. So I still shake my head and wonder how this team is 5 games over 500 at 48-43. I want to talk about what the Cardinals have here in Miklasz and Fedde and how basically it's a huge dumpster fire right now, except Mozeliak won't take either one of them out to the dumpster. Pardon my humor today. Listen, Miklasz and Fedde earlier this season were able to duck and cover for the first couple months. I complimented their ERAs and the way they were pitching for a while because that's what you do. You judge performance. If the performance is good, you say, okay, tip of the cap, nice performance. But when a performance goes into a reversible decline, especially for Miklasz, more on that later, at some point there's got to be an intervention because these are 2 guys that don't get swing and miss. They don't get strikeouts. So they're vulnerable every time they go to the mound. And the defense can't save them all the time, especially when they're giving up bomb after bomb after bomb, right? Nothing the defense can do to save that. Their earned run averages earlier this season were good, but they were also very deceiving. It was only a matter of time before they ran out of luck and they got walloped and smacked around by the reality of this thing we call regression. And that's exactly what's happened. Accordingly, Fedde's got a 6.48 ERA in his last 9 starts. And during that time, he has been hammered for a 294 batting average and a 488 slugging percentage. His strikeout rate's a sad 13%. He's also walking nearly that many. In short, Erick Fedde is one of the most hittable pitchers in the majors. And since May the 20th, he's absorbed punch after punch, blow after blow, knockdown after knockdown. And the confidence has been knocked out of him. He looks like a beaten man on that mound. And there is no place for him to hide. So I guess Marmol will have no choice but to stash him in the bullpen, at least until Mozeliak could find someone to take him for, I don't know, maybe a case of stale beyond expiration date peanuts. I don't know. Well, what are you going to get for Fedde at this point? The Miklasz ERA is 7.75 in his last 7 started. And he's gotten whacked for a 340 average, 660 slugging percentage, and 12 home runs in 36 innings. I will talk about Friday's disgraceful debacle at Wrigley Field here in a couple of minutes. In the last 17 combined starts made by Fedde and Mikolas, the Cardinals are 5-12. All right. They're not runway pitchers. They're not young guys who you're going to live with and give them plenty of chances, even if they're failing. They're not runway guys, but they're not winners. When you have them on the mound, your chances of losing are far greater than your chances of winning. That goes back about the last 6+ weeks or so. Not all of this is on them, of course, but with all due respect to our friend Chip Carey, these batterings of Fedde and Miklasz aren't all about soft contact and skimpy run support. These guys have been getting bludgeoned, okay? Anyway, the Cardinals are 4-7 in their last 11 games, and this is what I'm talking about, and I think I actually misspoke. 4-7 in the last 11 games, and this includes the Pirates series. And Fedde and Miklasz have started 5 of the 11 games. And in those 5 combined starts, they were plundered for 31 earned runs in 20 innings for a nifty 13.95 ERA. 4 of their 5 starts were losses. But in the one, quote, winning start by Miklasz, he got smacked around for 6 earned runs in 4 innings to put his team in a pretty big hole, but the Cardinals rallied for that 9-6 victory on that Saturday in Cleveland. So what? You want to organize a celebration for Miklasz based on that? No. The Cardinals should have lost that one too. That's one time where the hitters rescued him, and the hitters haven't been rescuing too many pitchers recently. More on that probably in a column I'm going to write a little later today, if I can get there, at STL Sports Central. So 40% of the team's starting rotation turning to ashes, if you want to take the kind of optimist view in a way, it is pretty amazing that the Cardinals are still in the wild card hunt. But unless the Fred birds out there want to make me spit out my coffee, and please don't, but I asked the Fred birds, media and otherwise, please stop yammering about the Cardinals can still catch the first place Cubs in the NL Central. Forget about it. This team won't be able to stay in the wild card race either without major changes to the rotation, because you can't keep sending 2 guys out there to get beat and beat and beat and beat in terms of the ERA and also in terms of the team success. Beat down. No more. Plus, there is the necessary thing too, is the revival for this team to stay in any kind of wild card race. Got to have a revival in offense that's running empty far too often here lately, right? And boy, we are understanding the value of Ivan Herrera the more he doesn't play while he's on the IL with the hamstring. See, this is why the onus is on John Mozeliak to be a leader and to do something about it, to be proactive, to intervene and take action by clearing Fedde and Miklasz off the 26-man roster. As I was saying, they don't fit the runway season, and they don't fit the goal of winning either. Their only runway leads to a horrific crash. And this does not help the Cardinals win games, that's for sure. Since May the 20th, both of these starting pitchers rank in the bottom 10 of the bottom 10 of all major league starters in a metric that I value a lot. Win probability added. The easy translation, they're among the very worst in the majors at giving their teams a chance to win a game based on their performance. You either help your cause or you hurt your cause. Both of these guys, according to WPA are absolutely hurting the cause of winning baseball games. I'm going to talk more about the depressing situation with Fedde and Miklasz in my second segment of the Monday Bernie Show. And in the third segment, I'm going to get into some of the reality. Okay, well, what can they do? If we agree that John Mozeliak's not going to have this dramatic intervention and clear him out of here, what can they do? So we'll talk about that in the the remaining 2 segments. I got a lot to say here today. So thank you for sticking with me. But I do have some strong opinions. But right now, I got an opinion, and this opinion is on DraftKings. And it's time for you to get in the flow, get in the action for DraftKings and their daily pick 6 game. If you think you know Major League Baseball, it's time to put that sharp knowledge to use and win big cash prizes through the daily pick 6 fantasy contest. And DraftKings pick 6, you just focus on player stats, select anywhere from 2 to 6. You choose whether the individual player will go higher or lower in a specific stat set for his next game by DraftKings. I'll just give you a quick example. The Dodgers are in Milwaukee to start a series Monday night. It's going to be Freddie Peralta against the Dodgers. Peralta has really lowered his home run rate this year, right? And especially the last month or so. Shohei Ohtani's third in the majors in home runs this season with 30. So that's the higher or lower. If you think Ohtani's going to hit a home run against Peralta or one of those Milwaukee relievers, you would go higher. If you think the Brewers are going to clamp it down and he's not going to go deep, Ohtani, then you would go under. You would go lower 0.5 home runs. See, that's how it works. It is that simple. And it's a lot of fun. So you ought to get in the game and take your shot at winning some money. Pick 6 is available in most states, including Missouri, California, Texas, Georgia, and more. It's easy to get started. You download the DraftKings app, which is excellent. They'll even offer you numbers on players you're looking at to sort of measure whether you think this, which way you should go in making your fantasy wager. But anyway, download that DraftKings app and open an account, then choose a sport, pick your players, and go for it. New players at DraftKings, here's the bonus, man. $50 in Pick 6 credits instantly with just a $5 entry. So download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use the code STL Sports. That's code STL Sports for new customers to play $5 and get $50 in Pick 6 credits. Better payouts, bigger wins, only with Pick 6 from DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
All right, back to Miles Mikolas and Erick Fedde, and I will begin with Mikolas. How in the heck are we, any of us, supposed to listen to Mozeliak and not erupt in spontaneous laughter when he talks about how ownership will likely agree to increase the payroll for upgrades if the Cardinals have a chance to improve their roster and make it to the playoffs? Well, here's an idea of how you make your team better. You designate Mikolas for assignment and let him go home and wear his funny little hats and have fun on his fishing boat near his home in Jupiter in South Florida. Let Miles Mikolas collect the remainder of his $18 million salary for 2025 by going after, fishing for tarpon, snook, redfish in those beautiful waters near Jupiter, Florida. I assume Mikolas can still catch fish, and from what I understand, he's very, very good at it. What he's not good at is pitching, and especially pitching to major league hitters. And when it comes to encountering major league hitters, let me try to put it this way. Mikolas is the fish. He is the fish, and for hitters, he's a very easy target. They have no problem hooking him onto the boat as he flaps around. But unlike actual fish, Mikolas can't put up a fight and escape. Once they got him hooked, that's it. It's over. Friday's detonation, I'm going to mix metaphors here. Friday's detonation at Wrigley Field was the latest embarrassment for Mikolas, but I think even a bigger embarrassment for the Cardinals and Mozeliak. The Cubs blasted off on Mikolas for 6 home runs. I mean, I sat there shocked, just shaking my head as you did. They blasted off. They teed off for 6 home runs in the first 3 innings, and they blew out the Cardinals 11-3. Unofficially, but according to baseballreference.com, the StatCast search engine, and I went through this a couple different times, 539 pitchers have started a game for the Cardinals during their history of the franchise. 539 men have started at least one game for the Cardinals as the starting pitcher. Until Friday, no Cardinals pitcher had ever had 6 homers ripped on them by as Mikolas did the other day. No, it never happened before. He had 539 guys including Mikolas. It had never happened before. 6 home runs allowed by a Cardinal starting pitcher. So I guess if I wanted to be nice, I could say, hey, Mikolas set a record. Hey, congrats. No, that's not the kind of record you want. By now, you would think Mozeliak and Cardinals ownership had seen enough of this to realize Mikolas is a lost cause. Oh, sure, he can turn some decent starts in at times. A lot of it depends on batted ball luck because the ball is going to be on play a lot. And sometimes the batted ball luck works your way, but it hasn't been working in Mikolas's favor, especially, there's no such thing as batted ball luck for your fielders to go make an out for you when they're hitting it over the walls and bombing home runs left and right, right? But so for those who would, can't believe there'd be any, Miles Mikolas apologists still out there. But for those who are still trying to, well, Bernie, you and other people were saying he was pitching well earlier in the season. Well, he was. I mean, that's what I do, man. I look at performance. All right, this guy, to my surprise, is pitching pretty well. But I always also said, well, but don't. Probably going to turn, but for now, appreciate what he's been able to do. Yeah, that's called being fair, okay? So, of course, he can turn in some decent starts at times. We saw that earlier this season. But if you really want to get answers, you go to the extensive body of work over the last 3 seasons. That's where you get the answers, not just like a streak of 4 or 5 starts. How about 2.5 seasons of starts starting in 2023? Basically, it's the last 2.5 seasons. Since the start of 2023, 77 major league starting pitchers have worked at least 300 innings, which is the minimal qualification over the last 3 years to qualify for the ERA title and all that. Trust me, Miklasz doesn't have to worry about that. Anyway, so just keep in mind, there are 77 starting pitchers on this list since the start of 2023. Miklasz ranks 72nd among the 77 in ERA, 5.08. He ranks 73rd among the 77 in strikeout rate, about 17%. He's dead last at 77th, dead last in swing and miss rate. And in the win probability added metric that I told you I value very much, Miklasz is 75th, 75 out of 77 starting pitchers. So we're talking about, statistically, it's obvious, we're talking about an MLB bottom 5 starting pitcher over the last 2.5 seasons. There's no hope for any sustainable improvement. And Miklasz, as we can tell by the last, 70 starts, did I say 7 starts, 7.75 ERA? He continues to get worse. But he's still here, continuing to get starts. And this is called insanity. How can Miklasz still be around? The answer, of course, is John Mozeliak, and I also assume team ownership. See, Miklasz is in the final season of a 3-year contract extension that averaged $18.6 million per year. This was the second contract extension, remember, the second contract extension that Mo handled to his guy, Miklasz. And the return for the investment has been pretty weak. Miklasz made only 9 starts in 2020 and 2021 because of an arm injury that required surgery. He had a tip of the cap and all that. He had a good 2022 season. But other than that, the Cardinals don't have a lot to show for the money they've wasted on 2 Miklasz contract extensions. And yet, with their chance of, like, to their credit, the fact that they're still in the wild card chase, for now they're still in it. And despite that, he's still here, and John Mozeliak will not take action. He will stay here. And Miles Mikolas is not even a so-called innings eater anymore. And all he does really is downgrade the team's chances of winning. And as we mentioned, he doesn't fit the so-called runway. And it's not like the Cardinals, we would say, like, well, hey, yeah, it makes sense to release him now because you would save some money. No, it has nothing to do with that. His 2025 salary has already been paid because it's guaranteed, as all baseball contracts are. So any financial considerations about whether he should still be here or not, 100% irrelevant. The only thing that should matter right now, a couple things: winning ball games, who gives you best chance to win. I should say, well, who who is most likely to lead you to a loss. But the second consideration, stop blocking young starting pitchers from getting their chance in what was supposed to be a runway season. Why is Michael still around? Well, I'd say it's the usual payroll politics and Mozeliak's stubborn ego. He won't admit to a mistake. If the Cardinals are paying Mikolas in that second contract extension, well, gosh dang it, he's going to play. If we're paying him, we're going to be playing him, as the saying goes. And by releasing Miklasz, Mozeliak would be owning up to his terrible decisions to give him 2 contract extensions that have soured over time, both of them. But he ain't going to do that. Mo ain't going to do that because Miklasz is his guy. And it's just, that's why I said I almost called in sick today, because just thinking about this makes me ill. It really does. And I know I speak for many of you. Let's put it another way. Oh, I just mentioned it, but let's elaborate. Miklasz is Mo's guy, period. There is nothing that Miles Miklasz can do on a pitching mound to sway Mozeliak to say, well, we've given him we've given him his own runway and we got to get him out of here. No, not even getting smoked for a franchise record 6 home runs in a humiliating game that was made even more embarrassing because you were playing your hated arch rival, the Cubs, in their ballpark, right? Michaelis should have been designated for assignment the morning after that game, but hey, everything's going to be fine. That's the John Mozeliak saying. He applies to just about everything. Hey, it's fine. We'll be fine. I like our club. Our rotation is solid. The rotation was solid for quite a while this year, but it ain't very solid anymore. I don't know if I mentioned this already, but I'm happy to repeat it. Since May the 20th, the Cardinals ranked 27th in starting pitching ERA in the majors, 27th out of 30 teams, ERA over 5. The starting rotation is not solid, and it's because primarily Mikolas and Fedde. As for Fedde, well, last summer's, he didn't. What did he last? He pitched into the second inning Sunday night, and Marmol got him out of there. And boy, did he look like a defeated man, like no confidence whatsoever. Anyway, the Cardinals lost that one 11-0 and embarrassed themselves at Wrigley for the second time in 3 days. But anyway, looking back to last summer, the 3-way deal that put Fedde in St. Louis and Tommy Edman in Los Angeles was an absolute disaster. I liked the idea of the trade at the time. I'm not going to run away from what I said, but you also stopped much later on. So, well, was the trade good or was it bad? Was the trade excellent? Was it a disaster? The trade was a disaster, okay? Besides, I don't make the trades, all right? That's not my job. We all have opinions on whether a trade was good or not, or maybe, I don't know, ambivalent. But I don't make the deals. You don't make the deals either. So we're all entitled to go back over time to see how something worked out that might have looked good, or at least solid at the time. It's not. It's a disaster. Fedde is, now that we're into July, Fedde is in his 6th in-season month of pitching for the Cardinals. Using standard ERA, Fedde pitched well in 2 of those months. He was good last September, and he had a good ERA in May of this season. But other than those 2 months of decent, solid, good pitching, in 97 innings, Fedde's got a 5.86 ERA as a Redbird. Mozeliak, as I said it, and listen, I'm not patting myself on the back because I know many of you said that as well. Mozeliak should have traded Fedde last offseason. That was the play because Fedde at least had some value at that time. But Mo's decision to hold on to Fedde failed. There is no debate about that. What team out there right now would give the Cardinals anything except, I don't know, think of the worst player you could find and then say, put him into my sentence that I can't have a pithy answer to, right? What team would give the Cardinals, what, you get a warm body for him? Would that be it? His trade value is shot, right? And his trade value is even going to be more shot when all the teams note, well, gosh, their rotation's kind of falling apart, and Fedde's not good enough to stay in that rotation. I'm going to say it again. Miklasz, don't say Miklasz. I know my name's similar. Don't do that to me. Just kidding. Miklasz and Fedde are not runway season starting pitchers. They are not winning starting pitchers. They don't qualify for either category. So what the heck are they still doing here? Pardon my redundancy, but it needs to be said over and over again. Mikolas and Fedde are experienced veterans who are supposed to be among your best starters instead of being your two worst starters. And if the Cardinals were serious about competing for a postseason spot, Mikolas and Fedde would not be making all of these starts. They wouldn't be making any starts from this point out. Since May the 20th, the two have a combined ERA of 6.67. The team's other starters during that time have an ERA that's just over 4. Not great, but one of those guys is Michael McGreevy, and, we like him, but the fact is, and he's included in this stat, because in his last 3 spot starts for the Cardinals, he had a 5.74 ERA. Other than that, the Cardinals starters not named Mikolas, Fedde, or McGreevy, their ERA since May 20th would have been under 4. But with Mikolas and Fedde, it's 6.67 when they work. Not good. McGreevy was, by the way, many of you probably heard it, but I'll just fill it in. He's probably going to make the next start for Fedde. I don't know what this means. It was a high-scoring game at Memphis. Seriously, both teams went nuts scoring runs, Nashville and Memphis. But McGreevy on Sunday got pummeled for 8 runs at AAA Memphis. I'm looking forward to his next start. I'm looking forward to his opportunity because, as I noted earlier, let's say it again, I got to think he can help. As long as they keep him in the rotation, he could help with an with a rotation, St. Louis rotation that ranks 27th in the majors with an ERA of about 5.01, 5.02 since May the 20th. So what else could the Cardinals do to better themselves, to get out of this jam? If dumping both of these pitchers is not an option, what can they do? I'm going to be back to talk about that in my third and final segment, which is going to be a little shorter. But first, I want to encourage the guys out there who may be in a slump, and there is nothing wrong with being in a slump unless you sit there and do nothing and let the slump continue. Do you want to hit for more power? Well, you're going to need better equipment and better training, and that starts with, it's the equipment part. You're going to need, if you want power, you're going to have to find a better bat, right? And that's where Blue Chew comes in. Gentlemen, Blue Chew can help you get going, jumpstart you with a boost that leads to a much more pleasurable and fulfilling life with your significant other. And that's great for both of you. This applies to men of all ages, especially in my age group, which is Medicare eligible. And I know all about that as far as, needing a boost when it comes to certain things. And that's why I appreciate Blue Chew and what it does for me. And I want you to discover this too. Blue Chew is the original brand offering chewable tablets for enhanced intimacy. As I like to say, think of Blue Chew this way: chew it and do it. You will get your first month of Blue Chew free. You're just a few clicks away, and it's easy to get going. Sign up at bluechew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you are approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. It's all done online, totally in private, no doctor's office, no uncomfortable conversations, no crowded pharmacy, and there's nothing to feel sheepish about. Just order online, and you're good to go. We got a special deal for our listeners and watchers. Try first month of Blue Chew free when you use promo code Bernie. That's $5 shipping. That's all you got to worry about. Use the promo code Bernie. Visit bluechew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for their continuing sponsorship of The Bernie Show. All right, let's jump into segment number 3. I know this is a long video, but there's a lot to talk about. And man, I needed to purge. I needed to get this off my chest. Absolutely. I'm tired of Mozeliak explaining why McGreevy hasn't gotten an opportunity what was supposed to be a runway season. He fits the runway season, right? Yes. Mozeliak's explanation, which he repeats over and over again, I can't stand hearing it anymore or reading about it. He mentioned it again in a Friday interview with the beat writers and Jim Hayes and everybody up there at Wrigley Field on Friday. Right now, Mo said, right now, we're just not confident with what's behind McGreevy to pull him up. So let me see if I can get this straight. The big league rotation is on flames, right? With the 4th and 5th starters, or at least your 2 worst starters. And you're more worried about what's at Memphis? Now, okay, I understand what his point is. I'm just saying he should be worrying about a collapsing rotation in St. Louis and putting that first because the team is, miracle, 1 game out of the 3rd wildcard spot right now. You can figure out the rest later. But what is the dawdling when you need to replace two starting pitchers and you can at least replace one of them now if you don't have the guts to throw both of them out, right? So in his mind, Mozeliak says the Cardinals lack starting pitching depth at Memphis, so they need to keep McGreevy down there in case they have an injury in the big league rotation. Okay, a couple things to that. The Cardinals have suffered no injuries of the rotation this season. In fact, I looked it up again today in the injury ledger at Baseball Prospectus. The Cardinals have been the most fortunate rotation in Major League Baseball at avoiding injuries. No one has avoided injuries or had better injury luck, whatever you want to call it, than the St. Louis Cardinals. And one of the reasons because Marmol and pitching coach Dusty Blake have made sure to, space out some of these starts, whatnot, and, also limit their pitch count during games. They've taken good care of their pitchers' health, and that's why it's been a very healthy rotation. So all of this paranoia and this just constant worry over injuries, I don't know, man. It just seems a bit overwrought to me. Second, this lack of depth which we all refer to down in Memphis. Well, whose fault is that? I know the Cardinals were hoping that prospect Quinn Matthews would be on a fast track to St. Louis in time to arrive after the 2025 All-Star break, but the lefty was slowed by a shoulder injury, and he hasn't pitched well since returning to Memphis. He's not ready. So he's a non-factor at the moment. He could be ready at some point in the second half. But Mozeliak also knew the Cardinals had other starting pitching prospects that either had shoulder, elbow, arm injuries in the past or were susceptible. They were vulnerable to those injuries at any time in the future, including the near future. And sure enough, injuries have knocked a couple of major league depth pieces, guys who could have plugged into the rotation. Injuries have knocked them out of commission, whether, you want to talk about Cooper Yerpe, you want to talk about Sem Robersay. There's others. I don't want to go through all of it because this video is long enough as it is. So why didn't the Cardinals, knowing that even some of their prospects were fragile in terms of being vulnerable to injuries, starting pitching prospects, why didn't the Cardinals reinforce their rotation depth by signing 2 or 3 experienced pitchers who needed to revive their careers and were willing to revive their careers with a chance in the minors? These guys are all over the place each winter. The Milwaukee Brewers always find them. Other really smart teams always find them. The Cardinals, they don't find them. The Cardinals recently did sign one of them, Zach Plesac, who did have some early career success with the Guardians until suffering injuries. But 5 starts, it hasn't gone so well for Plesac. He's got a 10.18 ERA. So what else could they do? Well, I tell you, one thought I had, they could have repurposed left-handed reliever Steven Matz. And I want to clear something up because there's still a very strong perception out there, a belief out there that Matz is like this great asset in the bullpen. Listen, I admire Matz for taking the ball and doing the role that he's asked to execute. And he was really good in the bullpen for a while. But can we actually all catch up here? Can we get everyone to catch up a little bit? Since June the 1st, Matz has a 7.07 ERA as a reliever. More recently, he has allowed runs in 4 of his last 5 relief appearances. And in those 5 appearances, he's got a 9.00 ERA, and he has been belted for 4 home runs in 8 innings. But yet, widespread belief, Matz is great in the bullpen. All due respect to a guy I do respect, he's not. Like I said, try to catch up a little bit, all right? Because it's easy to, just by watching the games, you should know that whatever magic he was working in the bullpen, it has disappeared, at least for now, and I'm talking about since June 1st. Matz would have had more trade value had the Cardinals pivoted him back to rotation spot. If they were so damn worried about rotation depth, well, there's a couple ways they could have done it, but at some point along the way, when they're agonizing over injuries that don't happen, they could have pivoted him back to a rotation spot and then figured out the rest after that, because it would have made him more valuable as a trade chip. But that's the Cardinals under the John Mozeliak operation in recent years. Always slow to react, a total lack of creativity, total lack of a creative mind at work, always oblivious to reality, always insisting that everything is just fine. All right, next thing. Could the Cardinals flip closer Ryan Helsley in a deadline deal that would acquire, let's just say, one decent starting pitcher who has a future, not just a guy, but someone that's maybe, a prospect of some distinction, some prominence, who could be part of the rotation going beyond 2025? I don't know who I'm talking about, and I don't know if that's just fantasy to think that could happen, but I'm just saying, if you could get that, there's no reason in the world to hold on to Helsley. The guy hardly ever pitches as it is. Anyway, what about, I got a feeling you're going to screw up the Helsley thing. All right. What about going with a bullpen only game once every 5 games or when necessary to avoid Miklasz? If you're going to keep Fedde in the bullpen, then because the president of baseball operations doesn't have the guts to get rid of Miklasz, you can use bullpen starts. It's nothing new. In fact, this season, we see great teams doing this, having a game that consists started by a reliever and relievers all the way till the end of the game. The Tigers and the Dodgers do this. Tigers manager A.J. Hinch had 3 of his 5 starters missing with injuries for quite a while, but he cobbled things together by making these bullpen starts, and they got through it just fine. Not perfect, but fine. So if the Dodgers can do it and the Tigers can do it, and the Cardinals do have relief depth, and I say that because, Riley O'Brien has been better, and until this weekend, Matt Swanson has been good. Andre Granillo has been good. Now you notice that he hasn't been brought back up yet. I'm sure he will, but they do have expanded relief depth. They could cobble together some bullpen starts. But again, that takes some thinking. That takes the willingness to step out of the box. But if the Tigers and the Dodgers are willing to do it because of necessity, but they're willing to do it, why can't the Cardinals do it? It just does not make any sense to me. Maybe it's time to think outside the box and trade the StatCast king. Of course, that would be Lars Nootbaar, to a StatCast addicted team that is in need of a left-handed swinging outfielder. Now, perhaps the Cardinals, sort of same token as like trading Helsley, suppose they could put Nootbaar out there and acquire a solid, younger, cost-controlled pitcher of value that could be under their contract controlled through, say, 2026 or through 2027. Mostly 2027. You get 2 years out of them at least. Then again, here's the problem. Do you trust John Mozeliak to make such a trade? I'd be a lot more comfortable if Chaim Bloom was making these decisions. Some creativity, as I noted, it's required to make a deal. You need creativity to strengthen your team in the present and the future, especially if you don't have obvious options available to you. But at least up to this point, John Mozeliak is staying with the status quo. And ironically, staying with the status quo, Mikolas and Fedde, is why the Cardinals are having a big problem in their rotation and why they have missed out on, among other things, a chance to stay close to the Cubs, at least until the Cubs fully pull away once and forever this season. In his final year as the president of baseball operation, Mozeliak and his team, they're suffering the consequences of his out-of-touch and outdated and stale regime. It's a miracle, as I said earlier, but I do think it's a tiny little baseball miracle that the Cardinals are only 1 game out in the wild card chase as I speak to you and record this on Monday morning. Actually, it's the afternoon. Whatever. But if you ask me, the fact that the Cardinals are 1 game out in the wild card chase, if you ask me, they're doing that in spite of Mozeliak and not because of him. Will somebody take action? You can't be taken seriously that you think you have a playoff contender as long as Fedde and Miklasz are taking 40% of your starts, which has been the case up until we think the next scheduled start for Fedde, where he's going to sit that one out for McGreevy. Thank you for watching. Thanks for your patience. Thanks for sticking around for a longer video that had a lot of great opinions. Great as in loud opinions, also some numbers. Please subscribe. Please leave your comments. Thanks for supporting us here at STL Sports Central. And thank you to DraftKings for presenting the Bernie Show here on STL Sports Central. Have a good day.